Hello and welcome back everyone to the video series dedicated show on CBS that definitely knows how to use a thermometer. That's right, we're talking about The Amazing Race Season 33, Episode 6, and let's start off where this episode starts off, and that is our final 6 teams boarding a chartered plane, getting ready to change locations. They're moving locations, going to Corsica, France, where they're going to do this next leg of the race, and everybody's in groups in their staggered starts, depending on their performance from the last leg. So in Group 1, we have Dusty and Ryan and Lulu and Lala getting to take off first. They're getting a 15-minute head start over Group 2, which is Kim and Penn, Akbar and Sherry, and Kayla and Raquel, where Group 2 has a 15-minute head start on Group 3, which is only Arun and Natalia, who came in last place in last episode, and so they have a full 30-minute disadvantage from Group 1. Luckily for them, for this leg of the race, they will not have to drive themselves or do any navigation. They have a driver pretty much for this whole leg. So all it comes down to is how you do in the performances of the detour, the roadblock, and how fast you get them done on your own. So this really plays into Arun and Natalia's hand as they were getting a lot of wires crossed the last episode. But let's take it back to the beginning where Group 1 of Lulu and Lala and Dusty and Ryan rip open their clues, and it tells them that they have to go to the capital city where they'll have to climb up these stairs to get to a milk canister with their next clue. Kim and Penn ask how long it's going to take for this drive to go, and they say it's going to be about 15 minutes by the time we see in the edit, at least in the edit, that Lulu and Lala and Dusty and Ryan get to their canisters and open up their next clue, which tells them of the detour for this leg of the race, which is say cheese or mule please. Or as I read it, mule please. In say cheese, you're gonna have to make a popular Corsica cheese, and once you make 3 baskets of it, then you can get your next clue. In mule please, you're gonna have to strap up and saddle up a mule, and you're gonna have to use them to deliver 2 milk canisters to the cheesery, I guess it's called. Once you successfully deliver your milk canisters, that's when you'll get your next clue. And what I like to do when watching this show, and I think a lot of people like to do this, is if you were put into the situation where you had these 2 options, what would you do? I would instantly say cheese. To me, there's a lot of variables in the mule please detour. You have to depend on the mule and how willing it will be to listen to you and being pulled on this journey. Also, you have no idea how long the distance is. At least I don't know from the edit that was given to us with people just reading the clues. So to me, if I'm thinking about the last leg, I would have chosen the sausage. And so I would be like, let's learn a new skill. Let's make some cheese. So I would be doing the cheese. And pretty much everybody agrees with me, as everybody's initial inkling and decision is say cheese. Dusty talks about how he's made cheese. He says it a lot during this episode, which is ironic. During this detour, it seemed as though that he's never made cheese and everybody else was a cheese connoisseur. But everybody picks the say cheese detour right off the bat, but when Kim and Penn get back into their car and they start reading the clue again, which once they get to the site of the detour and are loading up their little Jeep, that's when they tell Raquel and Kayla, whom they were talking to up at the top with their milk canisters at Belvedere, that's when they tell them that we're gonna switch, we're gonna do the mule one. And so Raquel and Kayla are like, we wanna stick with Kim and Penn, so we're gonna switch to the mule please. So in the beginning, the people that are doing each detour is Kim and Penn, and Raquel and Kayla are doing mule please, while everyone else does say cheese at the beginning. Dusty and Ryan, Lulu and Lala get to the say cheese first. They're looking around, they're starting it out, but instantly, right when they get there, that's when Dusty is like second guessing every life decision he's made, especially the say cheese decision. Like, they just started their fire, Ryan is stirring, and that's when Dusty's like, oh my gosh, we should have swapped. We should swap. Where's the mule thing? We gotta go. We can't do this. Like, we should swap now. They haven't been there for more than 5 minutes. Ryan even says that maybe we should just stay. I mean, Dusty has done this before, so he should be feeling a little bit more confident than what he is showing in the edit, but this edit, he is freaking out. They keep on turning their heat on and off. I mean, there is a small window where at 60 degrees, you have to pour in the milk, and then by 85 degrees, it'll start to curdle, and you have to keep it in that kind of range. Everybody else seems to be doing quite fine as we see Lulu and Lala leave, and they're in second place heading out of this detour. Every team that came in behind Dusty and Ryan, especially Arun and Natalia, who was a full 30 minutes behind them, was able to finish this off pretty easily. But this was mainly on Dusty and Ryan overcomplicating it for themselves. They got into their own heads. Such a mess to be watching this. Once everybody, and I mean everybody, leaves to go to the next location, that's when Dusty and Ryan are like, we gotta go. We spent 40 minutes here. Everybody has already left. Let's just go to the mule. They get in their Jeep. The Jeep has a trouble time getting up the hill when it's in first gear, so they have to push it, and then they jump in Indiana Jones style, and they are taking off to the mule. Let's go back a little bit to the mule, which, can I just say, super easy. All the mules were behaving. All 3 mules that were used were perfect. Also, the little journey that they went to did not look that long at all. Like, they were uphill, and then they came downhill a little bit, and everything was fine. So the mule was definitely the way to go, especially if you could get the straps done pretty quickly and be very attentive to detail. Both Kim and Penn and Raquel and Kayla had a little troubles getting their straps and saddles up correctly, but once they got the thumbs up, it was all smooth like butter, baby. I don't know why I said that like that. Kim and Penn finished first overall at this point, and their clue tells them to go to a specific canyon for their next clue. So Kim and Penn leave first, then Lulu and Lala get done with their cheese, they're heading off, and then Raquel and Kayla are very close behind Lulu and Lala. And so they're in third place, Akbar and Sherry, fourth place, Aruna and Natalia, fifth place, and Dusty and Ryan, who swapped, finish up the Mule Please detour, and they are heading off, but they are at a severe time disadvantage where everybody is at the next clue box where Kim and Penn open it up and it says, who wants to make a splash? This is the roadblock where you're gonna have to traverse this trail, this 1.5 mile trail that is half land, and then coming back is all in the water, and you have to jump off rocks, you have to swim in the river, do a zip line, you have to do all these crazy things that looks really cool, and I'm sure it was very refreshing. I mean, it was probably very, very cold when you started out, but it was probably very refreshing after that like long hike on the land. This would have been so much fun to do. So Penn is doing the roadblock this leg, and he is absolutely crushing it. At some point in the water portion, there are clues hanging up by a waterfall. You gotta make sure you see that. I was thinking, oh, somebody is gonna like totally bypass it and is not gonna find the clues, and that's just the opportunity that will leave the door wide open for Dusty and Ryan to be able to climb back into this race and somehow not get in last place. But to my dismay, they put the clues not very hidden at all. I mean, they were wide open, which I'm sure that they didn't want to make somebody have to traverse this 1.5 miles again, as it was pretty daunting if you had to do the water again, and it would just been a lot. It would just been too much to do if you made somebody do it like a second time. Really, Dusty and Ryan were able to pull this out via the physicality and athleticism of themselves compared to the rest of the competitors that were at the back of the pack. As we see, Penn has free reign in first place. I mean, he is doing whatever he wants, gliding through this roadblock, and he gets back and they open up their clue saying that they have to go to a second location, leave all your bags in your van, and then go and kayak to Phil for the pit stop of this race. Kim and Penn were able to get to that spot, pump up their kayak with still nobody really in sight, and they were able to sail off into the sunset, taking first place for this leg of the race. But let's get back to the roadblock where we have Lulu and Raquel doing this roadblock, and they decide that they're gonna do it together. I mean, they are neck and neck with each other. They're right behind each other. They decide that they're going to help each other out, that they're going to traverse this trail together. They're going to look out for the clue. If one of them finds it, they're going to tell the other one that, hey, it's right here, which Lulu does. I mean, Lulu passes it at first and then turns around and sees them hanging, and that's when Raquel is coming up and she's like, hey, the clue, we found the clue. This is where things get a little hairy, where Raquel decides to jump in and do the zip line first. Maybe they passed each other organically as they're working together. I think Lulu kind of like got lulled into a sense of comfort because she's like, oh, we're working together. This is fine. This is great. Raquel does the zip line first and then just goes, we gotta lose them, and takes off. And to Raquel's defense, I mean, there's nothing really to it to do. Like, we don't have to hold hands as we're walking through this river, doing this trail, because we've already gotten the clue. So now it's just like, let's go, let's turn on the jets, and let's take off. Now, I totally understand where Lulu is coming from being pissed, because Raquel kind of like put it out there like, hey, let's work together. Let's do this together. So I'm sure like if Lulu was thinking that, okay, after the clue, this is now a race, she may have kicked it into another gear to do the zip line first. Or if Raquel was just like, hey, do you mind if I go to the zip line first and then does the zip line, Lulu's not thinking, oh, well, she's just gonna freaking bolt after this. Like, yeah, you can do it first because I know she's gonna wait for me, or I'm assuming that she's gonna wait for me. Then we're gonna meet up with our partners together and then we'll just do all this stuff together kind of thing. Wrong. I mean, absolutely wrong. Raquel gets there. So Kayla and Raquel are in second place, heading up to their kayak. Lulu and Lala are in third place. They get to the kayak, but they don't read the clue fully. And they don't read that you should keep your bags in the van. So they bring all their bags to the kayak. Then they have to read and they're like, oh crap, we have to go back. This was not a terrible mistake, but it really loses them a lot of time because back at the path, we have Arun and Akbar, where Arun is just overtaking Akbar. I mean, he just is able to go around him. Akbar is dying on this trail. And I'm happy that if they're going out on somebody kind of like losing out on the race or going slow, that it is Akbar, because throughout this whole entire time, Akbar is getting on Sherry at every single leg, getting onto her about walking, being slow. He even did it earlier in this episode, but yet they did not come in last place. But this episode in particular, it was all on him, solely on him. The one roadblock in 3 episodes that he was able to do, this was only on him, and he was just crashing hard in this river. I mean, trust me, I feel like I'm in decent enough shape, and I think I would have been really struggling through this. But for me, it all comes down to attitude, and Akbar was getting on Sherry every single time. So to see him kind of lose the lead to Arun, and then Ryan comes up and meets him at the zip line and then overtakes him soon after and then finishes way before him. If this had to happen and they had to go out because of somebody's performance, I'm glad it was on Akbar's performance instead of Sherry, because I just would not be able to handle Akbar kind of getting on Sherry if it was because of her. And I have to give it up for Sherry. Sherry was impeccable. When Akbar came back, she was not, I told you so. She wasn't getting into his face. She was like, hey, it's a struggle. And I'm sure it was way harder than he thought it was going to be. And who am I to say that he did not give it his best? I'm not going to tell him that. He's already feeling bad. So I'm not going to do that. And you know what? That really got me. I was like, man, Sherry is the MVP of this team. We get to the kayaking portion. When Lulu and Lala are going back up to their van, Natalia and Arun show up past them to start pumping up their kayak. And then Desi and Ryan also show up as they are throwing their packs into their car. So now Lulu and Lala, who are in third place, are now kind of tied up here and is getting in 5th place as everybody else is leaving to head down to see Phil, as Dusty and Ryan have made up super ground. Getting to the roadblock in 6th place, last place, now are heading off in their kayak in 3rd place, and they even finish in 3rd place. I mean, it is rather incredible. Also, I really enjoyed Raquel and Kayla once at the pit stop map. When Ryan and Dusty are taking off their life jackets, that's when Raquel and Kayla are like, oh, they just wanted to show off their muscles. And even the guy that was sitting there, the greeter, was like, oh yeah, they're looking good. Which, can I just say, they are looking good. But as I said, Kayla and Raquel get 2nd place, Dusty and Ryan get 3rd place, Natalia and Arun 4th place. Such a great bounce back leg for them, coming in last place, being at a huge disadvantage, now getting in 4th place, and then Lulu and Lala getting 5th place. I'm glad Lulu and Lala were able to stay in this game. Sadly, Akbar and Sherry are in last place. They are eliminated from the race. But now we're at the top 5. We are at the final 5. This could be anybody's game. I mean, we just saw that. I mean, last video, I was talking about Dusty and Ryan. Very impressive, getting 2 first place finishes, and then it just takes one leg where you just completely get thrown off your balance. They were in 6th place, they were in last place for a majority, and then they were able to make up some time. I think that Dusty and Ryan are the team that, as long as they don't get fully behind in so long, that they can make up some time. But will this leg be a wake-up call for them, where they're going to be able to like start to really kick it into gear again and start getting back into first place finishes? Or will this leg start to like creep into their mind, going like doubting kind of like, oh, are we doing the right detour? Should we do it the right way? Who's doing this? Who's doing that? Because Dusty was completely freaking out at that say cheese detour, like right off the bat, which was really crazy to see. But we have the final 5 teams. We're going to have to wait to see what's going to happen for the rest of the series and heading into next episode. Who are you rooting for? What do you think about these detours? And what do you think about Dusty and Ryan kind of freaking out? Do you think they are going to get into their own head? Who are you rooting for? Who are you rooting against? Let me know anything and everything you thought about this Amazing Race episode down in the comments section below. Thank you so much for watching. While you're down there, hit that like and subscribe button. I'll be back really, really soon with more Amazing Race content, more content in general. But until then, peace.